Hello, Mel.
Hey, Steve. Sorry about that. I couldn't get the phone on.
Right. So, movement around the eyes. And nose. So remember, if you're weak, recovering, maybe an autoimmune disease has you weaker or maybe not able to stand for the whole hour. Again, I'll remind you that a lot of the stuff that we're doing here, you can do some of it seated. You could really do the whole class seated if you really needed to. So nose, ears, and it's going to be just as effective. And the very important thing when we're working um, with certain aspects of the physical body being weaker is that we don't want to overdo using our energy because we want to build up that energy to get back to better health. Thyroid. So for those people that want to stand up during the whole thing, they can. I'm just going to do a mix as I have been doing for the last few weeks. So top of the kidney meridian, and then thymus. And if you had to, you could just sit down and rub kidneys like this. And so also when you're getting better, you want to kind of do a combination of sitting down, standing up. And then we go to um, our lymphatic, which very easy to do the first three sitting down. Second three are going to be a lot better if we stand up and do them. But again, it's better to do the movements than not do them. So even though the last part is better to stand up with, and the yin yang padding is better to stand up with. Again, if you need to, better to do the movements sitting down if that's a necessity. And then sides of neck. So first we do the front of the neck here. And this one's pretty effective too, to have our fingers like this. A Dao Yin movement is going to be the quick up and down like we do with our nose. But there's a lot of practitioners with just lymphatic that just draw down. Because again, our intention is to lead any toxins from the brain, both hemispheres, and have it drain downward into the collarbone. So by just doing a downward movement here is pretty beneficial. And then we want to go to back of the neck, which not everybody does. Again, there's like there's a more extended lymphatic workout that we could do, which we kind of do anyway because we add some different things in. We do yin-yang padding, which extends the lymphatic workout. So we're just in those areas of the muscles and the tendons at the back of the neck that have a tendency to tighten up. And so by massaging those, we can kind of take a metric of, well, how tight are those? Because again, if they're really, really tight, they're not going to be that beneficial in allowing a flow of lymph to go down into the collarbone. And then squeezing and releasing brainstem. And if you were to notice there's some extra tightness in the back of the neck here, you might go to gallbladder 20 and check that out. See if there's a tenderness there. You might take your fingers and just go to the center of the brain stem to hit the due 16, 17, 15, 16, 17 points. And just check out, again, any tension that might be in that area. And then we go to the pecs. So first, typically, right in this area here is usually called the sore point. And even in EFT, there's a sore point that we work with here. And so that's the first place we want to go to. And after we do this work for a while, that point is not really sore anymore. But when we first go to that area, the first time we go to it, it's, for most people, it's extremely sore, which definitely means they have had a blockage in this area. So circling, spiraling movements are always good because that helps to encourage a spiraling outward and a spiraling inward, depending on the direction we're going. Padding. So typically a series of some different kinds of movements. So padding on the pec itself. We want to make sure we get into the armpit area because that drainage does go into the armpit and then downward or move upward into the collarbone area. And it's always beneficial to do those spiraling movements. And while you could do the stomach sitting down if you had to, it would be better, again, for building strength, to do some of this work standing up. But if you had to, you could do it sitting down. And you're really going to gauge that by your own feeling of how physically weak you really feel. Stomach meridian. And then for the crease, a bit more difficult to really get into this space. Now say you're a little fatigued and you don't want to really do this part. What I would suggest is, other people just continue doing that, is sitting at the front of the chair, and you can do what's called the butterfly shape, which is this, which is just moving
I
leg.
don't know why, but my volume isn't working at the moment with you.
Oh, really? Yeah, because nothing's changed on my end.
Oh, okay, it's working now. I don't know what happened. Sorry.
Okay, good. So this butterfly shake is something that Qigong suggests for people recovering from strokes. But you notice we are working the ingranal crease when we do this. And so, so again, if you were recovering from stroke, this is a good movement to do, and you would want to do it many, many times during the day. Because what it's doing is, again, it's mobilizing energy in this lower area. And a lot of people might wonder, well, what does that have to do with the stroke happened up here? But again, remember, we have to encourage these flows to do their natural work. And doing the shake is also a good lymphatic movement for, again, moving the energy upward. So then we go to the back of the knees. And again, if you needed to sit down for this one, what you would do is sit at the front of the chair, have your legs extended so that your knees aren't bent. And you do it this way. The yin-yang padding, again, some of it can be done if you need to, sitting down. So you would do that just the best way you could. Remember, you want to spend more time in the joints that either have some arthritis, are recovering from injuries, or just a joint that, needs more mobilization. And again, this padding routine that we're doing is mainly to clear blockages in the meridian system, but this is also an adjunct practice that people add on to do, say, a part 2 of the lymphatic. Collarbone over to the other side. And remember, when we do something like this, if you want to send more of a vibration into bone structure, you would pat harder and also focus on sending that vibration into the bones, into the joints here. So down the sides of the rib cage and around the belt. And the outside of the legs, so gallbladder meridian. Front, which is stomach. From the belt again. And then down the back of the legs, which is bladder meridian. Up the inside, which is kidney, liver, spleen. Spiraling. And then we can go to our connective tissue stretches. So again, some of these you could do seated. So that first one we do is wise out, looks backwards. If we do anything seated, remember you want to be sitting in the front part of the chair. You want to have good posture with your spine. And here, we're paying attention to is as we move our neck from side to side, stretch our eyes behind us. We feel the spine turning, especially the cervical spine. So this would be a good bone health movement. Rhinoceros. is a little more aggressive. So again, if you've damaged your neck, you may not want to do this one, or do it very short like this, instead of really trying to look up at the ceiling like that. So remember, we're always modifying according to our ability that day. We could do this one seated because it's rotating palms and shoulders. And yes, we could do snake body seated, but again, if you're trying to get stronger, you want to do a mix of seated and standing. So this routine is going to be really good, say, for older people and walkers and things like that. But again, you would be doing all of these probably seated. If you could get up and do some of it standing, that would be great. So the big round hip movement. So all these movements are really, really important. Let's do the other direction. And then I'm going to show you. So if you have to do this one seated, what you do again is you're at the front of the chair and you can move like this. And see how you can go backward quite a bit because you're at the front of the chair. And you can do that hip movement this way. So you're still doing a good job working with the kidneys. And again, you do it both directions. Really, with hula hips, no other way to do that one seated, really. But this one is kind of difficult that if somebody's in a walker, they're probably not going to be able to really facilitate this one anyway. And then we go to knees. So remember, if you're recovering, you probably want to have your knees further apart. And we usually have, you go both directions. If you have to do that one seated, you can do this kind of thing. You can go back and forth like that. You can go forward and back like this. You can rotate like that and rotate like this and do both, all right? And then again, the flexing knees. Would just be sort of a forward stretch with your leg if you had to do something seated. And then ankles. Okay, so let's do acupuncture points, which are going to be very beneficial again for any kind of recovery. But very beneficial to do for all of us, really. So large intestine 4. So the 4 spring gates we're still doing here. So we do that on one side, we do it on the other side. So here we're working with large intestine meridian. And then we go to source point on the liver, liver 3, which is beneficial to drain out any sick stale energy in the liver meridian. So we're working with organ function systems, but also other systems like large intestine, small intestine, things like that. So we want to do liver 3 on both sides. And then it's going to be beneficial to use our palm and massage the outside ankle. That's gallbladder. So now we've done some work with liver and gallbladder. And then the other ankle. And remember, anytime during the day, you can do a foot massage. You can follow a reflexology chart or not. You can do it with massage oil or not. And you can work with toes, making sure you're wiggling them around. Again, when you go to the bottom of the foot, you can very easily find some tender points. And so again, you would work on those areas. Because remember, any tenderness we find means that things aren't really flowing through that area as well as they could. And you could spend quite a bit of time doing this foot massage work. And besides the bottom, again, you could be working at the sides, the top, the whole ankle area here. So just remember all of that. And that's something that's going to be useful for your general health to do that kind of thing. You know, at least maybe once a month or once a week. Let's go to spleen 6. So, and when we do spleen 6, we can also do kidney 1. So now we're working with kidney, spleen, and liver. So all 3 of those organ groups work with detox. Spleen is more connected into the lymphatic system. Then let's do the other side with those two. Just keep on doing that. I just need to blow my nose here. Because often when I do a bunch of this work, it does loosen things up. And so best to kind of work with that, whether it's gas or burping or yawning or whatever it is. So let's go to stomach 36. Blowing your nose to clean out the sinuses. Because the purpose of all this work that we're doing, again, is to get systems activated and flowing. And when they're activated and flowing, we're going to find that stuck material is going to move. So now we're working with stomach meridian. So we did some work with large intestine, around stomach. But this particular point has a lot more going for it than just working with the stomach meridian, because it is clearing 100 illnesses in the body and bringing more energy into the digestive area and also into the legs. So this is definitely an important point to work with for people in recovery that typically, again, walkers, all the rest of it, because you want to bring more energy into your legs and work with your legs to make them stronger and stronger and stronger. So let's go to heart for summer. So remember, there's that tendon that's pretty easy to find right here on the little finger side. As a matter of fact, if you move your little finger and put a finger on that tendon, you'll notice that. So especially if you circle your little finger and you're holding onto that tendon, you'll notice that tendon is moving. So you want to move into the inside where the crease of the wrist is, and if you just fold down your wrist like this, there's an indentation there, and that's heart 7. So this is a good point for the heart. So say, this is just general work for all the organs. But this is a point that you could use, say, if there's any heart palpitations at times or an irregular heartbeat. And again, you can hold 1 to 3 minutes. Do it a lot faster in class here. Go to the other side, find that tendon, again, inside of it. If you let your wrist drop, you'll just get into the indentation right away. Then say it's a really hot day, but for whatever reason you have to be outside, and you're a little concerned with your heart getting a little too overheated, we would go to the pericardium meridian here and do this spiraling movement. Remember, it's only in this one direction from thumb to little finger. And if you were concerned, you might do this at least 81 times, spiraling for both palms, because this is going to draw any excess heat away from the heart through the pericardium and bring it into the palm. So we're basically pulling heat out. And again, if you're outside, it is a little bit too warm. Remember, hydration is going to be really important. And hydration isn't really just about drinking a lot of water. It's about really putting in the electrolytes and the minerals. So they also have available these electrolyte powders that you could put in that are going to be helpful. You could put in a little Celtic sea salt, or maybe a little bit of Himalayan salt in the water and shake it up. Let's do the other side to remineralize that water. Because remember, we're mostly made of water, but that water is salt water. So the mineral content is very important. That's what really keeps us hydrated, is mineral-rich water. And then movements to make sure it gets into those more difficult areas like the tendons. Okay, so let's do meridian qigong. So again, if you were weak, you would just do a few reps of each. If you're stronger, you want to try to do 10 repetitions of each one of these movements. And remember too, they can be done internally, where you feel spine and the rib cage and the breath lift up on the inhale. Everything sinks down on the exhale. Or if you feel you need more physical movement, again, same thing on the inhale. But then on the exhale, you're going to sink down further. So you're doing more of a squat. And then on the inhale, you're lifting up. We want to feel and imagine that earth yin is pouring up through and around us, pushing stale energy at the top of the body here. Heaven yang pours down on the exhale, pushing sick stale energy down and at the bottom of our feet into the center of the earth here. Let's do one more. Second picture is coming up, palms face upward, stretching outward fingers and toes gradually, and then releasing that gradually. Coming in, going around the belt. And again, sick stale energy pours out the bottom of the feet. So here, when we inhale, we're doing the stretching, releasing of fingers and toes, which is activating the entire nervous system and all the meridians, letting all that energy pour through all the cells and organs. letting all the six-tail energy pour out the bottom of the feet. So stretching, releasing. Let's do one more of those. So anytime when you're even seated, you could do this stretching of toes and fingers. And it's going to be a good activation for the entire meridian system. And then our next picture is coming up and around the body. Doing a little yawning stretch upward. And then again, let heaven yang pour down, releasing six-tail energy out of the body through the bottom of the feet. The inhale is the yin earth pouring up, doing the same process, pushing stale energy out the top of the body with this little yawning stretch. Heaven pours down. Earth pours up. Heaven pours down. Our next movement is coming up and holding the ball. Left hand on top. Turning to the left, rotating the ball a half a turn. So here we feel the winding and the twisting of connective tissue around our skeleton. And so besides rinsing the six-tail energy out, we're pushing water and nutrients into those more difficult spaces. And then we have the heaven and earth movement, where we're pushing away what doesn't serve us toward heaven and earth at the same time, letting heaven and earth pour into that space what does serve us. And then making our connection with nature, so giving the trees our exhale that they inhale. And then the trees give us their exhale that we inhale. And then again, we push away what doesn't serve us. Let pour in what does. Connection with nature again. Pushing away what doesn't serve us. Letting pour in what does. One more connection with nature. And then our three gathering movement. We're here, we're collecting heaven yang energy and depositing it in the upper dantian. Expanding into the universe together, compassion, joy, gratitude. Letting that deposit in the middle dantian heart center. And then earth energy. Pouring into the lower dantian. And then letting some of that energy circulate through that orbit that goes up the center line back. On the top of the head through the brain down the center line front. Up the center line back. Around the top of the head. Down the center line front. Letting the palms just rest. And here you could remain standing or seated. And we're going to finish with the affirmations that we can add to this practice. this. And so remember, those affirmations are, my chi and blood are flowing smoothly. My chi and blood are flowing smoothly. I am filled with peace and joy. I am filled with peace and joy. I am free of pain and illness. I am free of pain and illness. I am blessed with good fortune. I am blessed with good fortune. So if you have time, I like to do 3 reps of this one. So let's do 2 more. My chi and blood are flowing smoothly. I am filled with peace and joy, and we're feeling this as we're doing it. I am free of pain and illness. I am blessed with good fortune. So one more. My chi and blood flowing smoothly. I am filled with peace and joy. I am free of pain and illness. I am blessed with good fortune. And as I've mentioned before, these are really good affirmations to do anytime during the day. You can do them silently. It's better to do them out loud because our own voice has a vibration that definitely it sends it through this thymus heart center area. And we're out of time for today. So, thank you for coming to practice together.
Thank you, Steve. And amazingly enough, it's Thursday. So
Yeah.
I will see you next week, and you have a great week and a great weekend too.
Yes, you too. Say hello to Fred and see you next time.
Okay, will do. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.